The era of Chi-Fi.
Yeah, mostly China.
Hello and welcome everyone to our first talk show of the day. For the first session, we have Michael After Sound paired with Fortify.
Hey. Okay. Just go up. Right.
The elevator. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Tes. Oke. Dibuka nggak? Oke, udah langsung aja ya. Oke, halo semuanya. By the way, udah lihat ya beberapa kali tadi gue udah post juga di Instagram. Kita mau ngomong apa sih? Dan yes, bakal ada hadiahnya nanti kalau ada sedikit quiz-quiz. Dan karena Mr. Goh Beng Yao ini pakai bahasa Inggris juga, di sini kita ngobrolnya pakai bahasa Inggris ya. Dan di sini gue mau nyantai aja lah, kayak nggak usah terlalu gimana-gimana. Kita santai aja. Kalau nanti mungkin ada sesi question and answer, bisa tanya-tanya daripada lu kasih saweria gue, sekarang bisa ditanya. Oke, langsung aja kita mulai. Okay, so right now I want to talk about the trend in this audio hobby, which I separate into three things. First, it's about the tuning and measurement, and then the manufacturer trend, and also the driver trend. So I see that there are some trends that is connected to our hobby right now. So I'm just gonna talk about it in general way. So it's not really in depth. It's just mostly general. So just take it with a grain of salt. So yeah, please next. Let's talk about the pre-measurement era. This is before the Crinacle. I think Crinacle is one of the person that I see to be publishing the measurement, and you can compare it. And then this is before that era, before the squiggles, before the squigglings, and before the Crinacle era. I think the measurement is something that you don't really see in manufacturers. When I come to the dynamic range is from certain hertz to certain kilohertz, maybe 20 to 20 kilo, or maybe from 40 to 40 kilo, but you don't really see the measurement. Is it bassy? Is it is it bright? Is it warm? What is it? You couldn't tell. But right now, you have a lot of things that you can see and compare. At least by eyes, you can judge, you can compare, and you can imagine how it sounds. So before the critical and squeegees area, you see that a lot of manufacturers don't have really clear line how some things should sound like. You see that there are very V-shaped one. Even the ear gain, around the upper mid area is flat. It's like that. So it's an era where you could see that, yeah, the ear gain era, the upper mid range is really strange, and even some of the IEMs that are said to be flat is literally flat. No obvious trend here. Mostly each on their own way to describe what is good. Mostly no consideration for sometimes ear gain. Okay, next. So right now, we have measurements. We have squiggling. We have, yeah, a lot of websites, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of reviewers showing their measurement. And then the Harman target boom. Because there's Harman target, the target that is known to be good for a lot of people. So the company just straight up making Harman. And you can see that there's also there's the trending. So before the measurement, there's no trend. After measurement, there's a trend. And the first trend is Harman. I think that's what I see. Trending brand and models that follows Harman IE29 target, you know, Moondrop, Tanjim, Simgot. They are all known because they follow the Harman target. And some people think that because it follows certain established, well-known target, it must be good. So yeah, they just follow Harman, Harman, and Harman. But also, because a lot of people have tried Harman, they also find some critique towards it. They found some flaws around it, and most of the flaws is not within the base area. It is mostly around the upper mid-range. I see a lot of people saying that Harman is thin sounding, Harman is shouty, and because of that, there's like a critic against it. Like right now they make adjustment. The upper mid range tends to be more, I would say, like a normalized or toned down, so it's not as forward as Harman. There's a critic, so the new trend will be like the neutral with bass boost. Still some like simply like Harman, but just tone down the ear gain, tone down the upper mid range. Also, the new bass tuck trend for multi-driver IMs, the bass tuck at the mid-range, mid-bass, and then suddenly the sub-bass is just like there's a crack or there's some jump in the sub-bass area, making things sound suddenly like a sudden sub-bass jump, but it gives a sense of clear separation from sub-bass to mid-bass and mid-range area. And then next. Oh, sorry. The early measurement area also happens because there's an availability of the coupler, the IE711 clone and squeakies that help the trend to establish the tuning. Before the IEC711 coupler, people usually use something like grass that costs $1,000. So that's why a small reviewer like me doesn't use measurement before the IEC711. And then after that, IEC711 is quite cheap, at least affordable for me, so I can buy it. And then there's Squeaklink. Thanks to that, we have a lot of measurement today. Next. And then there's the carrot measurement area. You can see that there's a lot of difference in the upper mid-range. There's a trend, but the upper mid-range trend is shifting. Right now, it's more almost flat, I would say, with the raw measurement in IEC711, but they still have the ear gain area, making things sounds clear and have vocal extension. But the birth of the new meta target or the JM1 target currently right now is also because of the measurement coupler. Because they have found the BK5128 that makes a new target for ears. And a lot of people say that the new BK5128, just say BK, okay? It's just hard to say BK5128 every time. The BK1 is more, it's more advanced, it's more currently in line with the natural human ears target. And yeah, here we go. We have new trend because of the measurement coupler, because of the technology shift. So what's next? Is it going to follow the current target? Is it going to have different target? Let's talk about it later. Next. Now let's talk about manufacturers. Now I think I'm gonna give the first quiz here. Is there anyone here could say what brand are these? These four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those four are from my era. I mean, it's around 2012. Anyone knows those four brands? It was huge brand back then. But right now, you don't really see it a lot. If you could say it, I give it Moondrop Space Travel 2. Brand new. Anyone know? Mas 4. You can say 4? 4 of it?
No, 4. I just know Ultimate L.
Ultimate Ear. Yeah.
Jerry Harvey Audio.
No, sorry. Not Jerry Harvey. Jerry Harvey is obvious. This is 4.
This one.
Campfire Radio.
No. It was huge, but right now it's not really. You can hear them anymore. Okay, maybe the one that could give the most, maybe 2 or 3 lah. I just give the Space Travel. Can you? Give up? Give up in three, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay, no.
We keep the
just-
prize
so-
for the next question. Please, yeah.
So I'm just gonna say that this is before the measurement era as well. This is some of the very big manufacturers. You know, Sony, Beyerdynamics, Shure, Westone. I think right now you don't really hear about the Westone and Shure again anymore. This 5 was also big, but this 4 is like a more like a general customer. This one is for the enthusiast. This is the niche for the hobbyist back then. The first up is the Air Audio. Air Audio. And from Air Audio, there's an emerging tuner or maker named John Moulton that he thinks that, oh, Air Audio, I can make my own brand. And then that brand, I think you know this brand, but you don't talk about it a lot. Noble Audio. This is Noble Audio. Noble Audio, before the makers, is John Moulton and called The Wizard, is before from the Air Audio. Also, you know, Ultimate Ears, yeah? Ultimate Ears before. Jerry Harvey is actually from Ultimate Ears. He's the one that tuned the UE35, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, 555. And then the CA is Custom Art. Custom Art, Harmony. If you know, the maker of Custom Art is Piotr. Piotr is from Poland, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of the most well-known tuner, actually. And he's the one that is behind, right now, the PMG Audio Apex. You know, the PMG Audio Apex that costs 100 million rupiah. Before the PMG Apex, he made Custom Art. So yeah, this is before the Chi-Fi area. You can see, it's mostly dominated by Western. Western, except the Sony, yeah, European Dynamic, German, Shure, Western, Air. It's mostly American Western brands. And then next, yeah, you know this. You know this already, lah. Moondrop, Zigat, Tanjim, Tangsu, yeah, everything you know this. But there's one big similarity that is kind of different with the previous brand era. The previous brand era, if you measure it, again, there is no trend. But in current, you could see that even if you stack some measurement against other, like the Tanjim and Moondrop, you will see similarities. It's not all different. It's before the measurement era, before the Chi-Fi area. It's like the Chi-Fi is following the trend. There's a trend, there's some new trend, they follow it. There's some new trend, they follow it. I think it's, of course not all brand do this, but it's just most of the times, and you can see there's a trend line here. Okay, yeah, rest of Chi-Fi. Well, even it has its own name, Chi-Fi. Before that, it's just Hi-Fi audio. Now, Chi-Fi. Next, and then yeah. Go ASEAN. The emergence of Southeast Asia boutique company. Boutique company means the company that usually produce in small amount, in small quantity, not mass produced, and usually in higher price. You know, our 7 Acoustic from Indonesia, Fat Freak from Singapore. You know that one? Nightjar, yes. Nightjar is from Singapore.
Singapore,
yeah?
yes.
They're from Singapore. You know that one?
Elysian.
Yes, Elysian from Malaysia, and Subtonic. Yeah, all this IM at least cost for their cheapest lineup cost even $1,000. Yeah, you have $100 at least. The lower line of the Fat Freak and also the 7A acoustic. But Subtonic, Elysian, yeah, $1,000. So it's just unique for me. Why Southeast Asia? That's the emergence of this boutique brand. Is it because of the passion in the Southeast Asia? But why boutique? I think because I have talked with some of the makers here. Why they make things really high price? Because it's hard to compete with the Chinese company mostly. Because the Chinese have the easier manufacturer, also more affordable manufacturing process, more affordable people, more affordable, mostly more affordable material. So they couldn't really compete with the lower price range, but they can compete with higher price range with beautiful tuning, with unique tuning. Next. Now let's talk about drivers. There's also a trend and change here. In the beginning, there was two. And here's Pranar. In the beginning, when I start my audio hobby at this before 2012, there's always dynamic driver. And then the emergence of balance armature is actually not for audio at first. Balance armature firstly used for, anyone knows? I give the Zakai. The first use of balance armature driver is not for IEM. Hearing medication, yeah. Okay, congrats, you get the Zakai. Yang bawah. Ya, betul. You know? Yeah. You pioneer. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Yeah, why I didn't put the Atimotic here? Yeah, Atimotic and one other company also make the hearing aid. Is this one? You know this? No, this is one is audio. Phonak. 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 It's one of the first use of some of the first use of balance armature, but they are actually a hearing medical company. If you search right now Audiophonak, they don't make IEMs anymore. They make hearing aid right now still. And then I still remember that the first time we see the hybrid driver, oh, it's crazy pricey. You know this one? AKG? This what AKG is this? AKG, what AKG? Do you know? It is some of the first well-known multi-driver IEM in the world when it's in its own age. You could see there's no pin, it's not detachable. It's using one dynamic driver and two balance armature. I forget when it rise, but the price back then was $1,500 for one dynamic driver, two balance armature. It was very different time. So it's one of the first well-known, and that one, you know that one? Actually, Clinical have talked about it. The upper right-hand side.
I think I have heard once, but I forgot the name again.
Oh yeah, it's Ultimate Ears Superfi. One dynamic driver and one balance armature, if I'm not mistaken. It's the first hybrid driver IEMs. And then there's also the, you can call that the IEM? I don't know, what is that?
Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey. That's Odyssey. iSign. Odyssey iSign. It has maybe around 10 years ago, the first planar IEM, as far as I know. But it's just so humongous. And I couldn't wear it for maybe just for 2 songs, and then that's it. I couldn't wear it anymore. It's just so big. Yeah, in the first, the driver was really limited. And then, yeah, next. And then we have a lot of dynamic driver, balance armature right now. So the trend is after the dynamic and balance armature, people realized that they could make a lot of IEM with multi-drivers. And then somehow the price gets cheaper. Right now you could get $50 IEM with 2 dynamic driver, 4 balance armature, and something like that. But for that era, it's just really different. And then the planar balance armature mostly gets cheaper. And then here comes the fancy era, EST, Sonion EST. Because of the driver itself is really expensive. So yeah, the first IEM that I know where the Sonion electrostatic was Kinera Nana and also the Lecture AJ07, not the AJ07M, the AJ07. It's around 2019. I don't know if there's any older model other than this that using the EST, but Even that time, it costs almost $1,000, so it's really expensive. And even right now, the EST is still really a fancy driver. If you have EST in your IEM, that will almost certain will cost more than $300, right? It will cost more than 5 million rupiah, mostly. So that's a fancy era. And also the planer gets smaller, but doesn't really get cheaper, I think. It gets cheaper right now, but in the first time we get the 700 timeless and also the Shure S12. Yeah, it costs around $200 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So it's funny because the EST and planar, they have fast transient response, and they come like almost in the same era. So people like really clear and really good resolution, I think. Next, I think this one is do we need this? Do we need this? Because the driver is mostly for sensation. It's because with the EST dynamic BA driver, we could complete the whole range of frequency from the sub bass to the upper treble era. But with this, it's more like new sensation. So like the microplanar, I think it's like a cheaper electrostatic for me. That is, the sensation is similar. You get very airy and fast transient response, but much cheaper in price. Also, the piezoelectric, I still don't even know is the piezoelectric relevant. I don't still find anything really unique about the piezo, at least for me. Nothing really stands out about IM that using piezo. And also bone conduction driver. Bone conduction driver have a unique implementation, but it's mostly for sensation, I believe. Like that roomy sensation in your head, but doesn't really give more frequency. Do we need this? But also the last presentation. Yeah, next. Now there's also like a trend that is going back. You see that some IEMs not using fancy dynamic driver like bone conduction driver or the electrostatic driver. Again, like you can still, there's a lot of people still loving the U12T that came around like 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Like even right now, one of the flagship that is really highly regarded, the The Audio Valhalla, using all balance armature. No bone conduction, no electrostatic, all bone conduction driver. Zigat Luna, around 300, 400 bucks. People love it. Using simply 6 balance armature. Sense Menger Top Pro, one of the best, under $1,000, under $700. And it's using only dynamic and balance armature. Soviet RSV Mark II, sorry. RSV Mark II, only 5 balance armature. So it's like after seeing the change in driver, but the people also realize, oh, the older driver apparently still have more potential to be maximized, and then they produce this, and yeah, they are good. And only with balance armature and dynamic driver and balance armature, the frequency can be fulfilled from the lower part to the upper part, even from with the highest extension of treble. Yeah, I think that's it for my presentation. Now, Brother Go, can you please tell me what your opinion about this?
No, I think he has made a very fantastic presentation, and for many of you who just got into the hobby, I think this gives you a little bit of insight into the history and how IEMs have actually evolved. And one of the key things, I think, when you talk about new drivers, I think the new driver slide was very interesting when he talked about the precious ceramic, the bone conduction. A lot of people do not understand why does these drivers exist. Some people even claim these drivers are not really drivers. They are putting there so that certain manufacturers say, I have a 7-driver IEM, you know. But I think, you see, at Portify, we not only do media, we also do consulting. We help develop products. IEM is one of them. So one of the things that I can share with you guys is the reason why these things exist is because we need to achieve sonic harmony. What do I call sonic harmony? I think all of us would know electronics being electronics, okay? Be it a dynamic driver or BA or even a high-end EST, there's no perfect driver. And when there's no perfect driver, what do? You need small components like the bone conduction drivers, the piezo ceramics to create the bump that you need to straighten the line. But then again, I have always shared this with a lot of people. The frequency curve, I would always like to attribute it to a reference. It should not be a absolute, which is why many of you will say, hey, during the Harman trend, why is it that all the IEMs that follow the same curve doesn't sound the same?
Yeah.
Can anyone tell me why is it that given the same frequency curve, all the IEMs doesn't sound the same? Why? I mean, assuming that curve is the holy grail, why is it not sounding the same? Can anyone attempt to answer this question?
Is it the quality of the driver?
Sorry?
Is it because of the quality of the driver
Quality of the driver.
or no?
Not just the quality of driver. You want to elaborate?
Sorry, no.
Okay. Anyone else?
The own tuning of the IM from
Mm-hmm.
itself, like their own tuning.
No, because when we talk about the tuning, everyone is tuning in focus with the Harman reference line, for example. I'm like saying like we have 4 brands, for example, A, B, C, D. All of them follow the Harman curve to tune. But why is it that all 4 sounds different?
Is it because the different type of drivers used by the different IEMs? Because like you said earlier, where something like Planner, it have like a much faster response than like other type of driver, like dynamic driver or balancer there.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good answer. But maybe let me just elaborate, okay? You remember just now I made a very strong word called sonic harmony. And sonic harmony is very important because even though, for example, even if I were to use the same drivers, okay, the same drivers, the same tuning, same curve, but you might be using a resin shell, you might be using a CNC aluminum shell, someone else might be using some high-end carbon fiber material. The cavity reacts differently, the cavity design is also different. So you will have transient differences, which sometimes ears cannot hear, curves cannot draw out. Okay, so which is why when it comes to tuning, I always say to engineers, the curve acts as a preliminary reference. After that, trust your ears. That is why experienced tuners are still very much in demand. If not, all these guys will be out of a job.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other things that I want to share is when you talk about trends, I think what was pointed out was very clear that it is very true that the Chinese manufacturers follow the trend very closely. Whenever they develop an IEM, they will ask even their existing users, feedback from their previous IEM. Do you find it too bassy, too heavy on the mids, or too heavy on the highs, or do you need more highs or more mids? And then from there, they try to decipher the trend. Okay, and many a times, the more responsive one would be the Chinese brands. The Western brands tends to be a little bit more stubborn because you have, maybe for some of the more established brands, a very established tuner that's there, and he believes that the sound should be this way. So this is probably the reason why there's a difference between the offerings. Then when you talk about the boutique IEM brands, I think one of the key things is not so much, I feel, the components, but rather the quality, as some of you have pointed out earlier, of the components. Because in the boutique brands, as well as the ones that I work with, um, they actually do not take the drivers by batch. They do matching, and then they match it to within 0.25 dB. Anything above differences of 0.25 dB, reject. But, you know, people like Sonyon, people like any other, even the Chinese driver manufacturers, they do not accept rejects. Basically, rejects means you write off. So basically, if you buy 1,000 units of drivers, your ambition is to have your IEMs be within 0.25 dB. The rest reject. You probably half the batch gets thrown into the drain or sold to second-hand markets for people who wants to do more affordable IEMs. I don't like to use the word cheap, sorry. Yeah, more affordable IEMs because there is a market for that. And we have to appreciate that there are still enthusiasts with a budget. And I think, yeah, that's within their tolerance, it's fine. Yeah, then when you talk about that, then that increases the cost. And of course, the workmanship, because when you're talking about boutique setup, they do small numbers. They cannot engage high number manufacturing in China. They cannot outsource it. So end up they will have to either employ locals, which is very expensive, especially in Singapore and Malaysia, um, to do. And honestly, there isn't so much of engineering and electrical engineering grads in Singapore already. So to get people with steady hands to do the soldering can be a bit costly. So all this adds to the cost. So which is why some of these IEMs are, although people are like complaining why so high, but in actual fact they are not making that much in terms of margins, because of all these factors. But yes, of course, you have to be very sure that they are doing this before you put your money in.
Yeah.
Because I do know of boutique names who are boutique by name, but it's actually made in China. Okay, so be very, very clear. I mean, I think this is a very nice hobby to be in. I mean, Portify, although we are a very established consulting house, um, we are still doing this more like a hobby because we want to realize what we want to realize. We are not going to be driven by money. If, for example, someone wants us to be involved in a project where we know outright is to con enthusiasts, it's not going to happen. We are always very, very stubborn in terms of what we propose. If it doesn't work for both parties, then we agree to disagree. I mean, we have shared a lot. I think, is there any things that you guys want to ask pertaining to this topic?
Yeah, question and
Yeah.
answer.
I have two
Sorry.
questions.
Wait.
Um, I have two questions. Both are somewhat related. The first one is, we see from the transition from going from the Harman target into the new current meta target, it's mostly because we have a better measurement rig to make that new curve. So are the trends really just the advancement in the technology for the measurements that the manufacturer then realize, oh, we can fix these things in our current product? And secondly, my second question is, will there be uh, a moment where the measurement rig could reach a point of advancement where it can detect these things that our ears can hear, but the current measurement can't, like what you said earlier? Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We share this. That one will be for the audience. No, this one for audience, we'll share this.
Okay,
Anyway,
first one is regarding the sorry, the first one is regarding the Harman target, right? The Harman target and also the advancement. Is it going to have a new target? I think, right? That
no, he's talking about advancement of the rig, whether the rig can one day achieve absolute correctness.
That's
Oh.
part of the. That's I think both questions are intertwined.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
mainly the first one is if the targets follow the curve, if the measurement targets are a reflection uh,
Of the rig.
of the rig,
Of the rig.
are the advancements of the rig being the reason that there are now newer
Targets.
someday there are newer targets that manufacturers see with this new data that we can fix ABC.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. It's actually intertwined question actually.
Yeah,
Okay. First of all, I believe the target is not being like a holy grail, but like the manufacturers did it. Oh, this is the new target. Let's follow this. But it's the target itself is actually made by the critics, right? By the reviewers. It's not made by the manufacturers. Like the JM1 target is actually a little bit of critique from the diffuse field of the BK, and then they just adjust it a little bit to be more tolerable with us, more correct with our hearings. But the target itself is not from manufacturers. Even the Harman target is from the Harman Research. Doctor, I forgot the name of the man that made the Harman target. But yeah, for me, the manufacturer will follow the target that is mostly in line with the current customer and the current reviewers target. And yes, the reviewers target are still getting updated even every year. And yes, I believe that the better the rigs are, and it's also the bed will give a better explanation why we hear this, why we hear that, and it will give a better explanation of what is correct and what is not. And if you know that some companies like headphones.com is one of the reviewers that use not only the measurement target, what is the neutral target, but they also give a preference line, the preference target. So it's because everyone hears differently. We have different ears canal. Some of us hears the 3K for a plus 5 dB is too much. Some of us feels it's just too much. They will have a preference line. So I believe that yes, the target will follow a better rig of measurement as long as it still makes sense. I mean, the trends in Harman, it makes sense. It's because of the survey. The Harman targets happens because of survey, right? It's not because of simply a human hearing that this or that. Basically, it's based on surveying, and a lot of people said that this is good, so that's the average, and there we go. We have Harman target, but the new JM1 target is based on measurement. It's based on measurements and based on logic and critics even towards the diffuse field target of the BK1528. So I believe yes. But yeah, so the first question, I don't believe the manufacturers will just follow the line. It because of the trend of the people, trend of the reviewers, trend of the critics towards the target. They find, oh, this is the new target because manufacturer is basically money making, right? They are not. Some have a good ideal, but some of them definitely they want to make money. And then yeah, I believe the better measurement will help. At least will not be always correct, but it will help. I mean, before the measurement era and after the measurement era, we see that things at least objectively and a lot of subjectively gets better. Right now, people gets good sound even at affordable price. I think that's. Do you want to add?
I think it is critical to reinforce what I shared earlier. Frequency curves should always just be a reference. I hope everyone coming out of this talk show can bear this in mind because I'll be very frank. What do manufacturers look at? Not a reference line, not your preference line, but what sells.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
If, for example, today the Indonesian market happens to be the biggest sales volume market for Sony, for example, I'm sure Sony will tune into Indonesian ears.
Yeah, agree.
So the thing here is, every one of us listen to different genre of music, different have different ear canals, have different type of ear hole sizes. I'm sure that there are individuals here with very big ear holes, which you are having problems finding the correct ear tips to fill it up. But a lot of people who play with IEMs do not understand the importance of getting the right seal. The right seal is of the most ultimate importance when you're auditing a IEM. Because if you can't get the seal right, you can't get the right sound. So there is a lot of things that's happening with this hobby, and it's interesting. And that is why we kept this hobby going on.
Yeah.
That's why we always listen to a IEM and find, hey, this is interesting. Why? Because it's not the usual sound. If everyone is hearing the same sound, there's no excitement.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to ask yourself, what are you looking for in this hobby? I think one of the key things that a lot of people tend to believe is that, I need to first convince myself that this follows a certain curve before I even bother to audit it. I think it doesn't do the creators of the IEMs a lot of favors when you do that, because sometimes it discourages brands to try new stuff.
Yes.
And it will not help the community, because then we will not experience new stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
And most importantly, I think one question that I always put out to a lot of people is, what gives you the best satisfaction when you are in your total comfort zone or when you're out of your comfort zone? This is a very interesting question, because a lot of people will assume, in my most comfortable position, I'll get the best sensation because I can totally relax and enjoy. No. It's when your senses are triggered. And when is your senses triggered? It's when you're out of your comfort zone, and that's where you find it interesting, isn't it? When you get the excitement, you get, whoa, this thing is different. It's different from what I currently have. So I think there is a lot of thoughts here, I think in the community especially, there is a lot of emphasis on frequency response curve. If you come to porterfy.com, our review has never featured frequency response curve. Even us as consultants, we have never told manufacturers that they should do IEM based on this. But we will tell them that the market requires something that, for this price point, something that's more bassy, and what type of bass. Because bass, there's also the separation of the normal consumer muddy bass and the tight, clear audiophile type of bass. So it's very different, and the degree of the bass, the type of decay that we are looking at. We go into these aspects, not just a curve. So this is just some insights that I'm sharing when it comes to manufacturers designing the IEMs. What we look at, based on what the IEM is targeted for. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So, what do you expect in this hobby, in this industry in 2026?
2026.
Always interesting.
Okay, that's it. I think just like the Mr. Koch said himself that always following target is, it's getting redundant to some point. So I want to see that, and unfortunately we have a lot of new manufacturers and new IEM makers that make something that is way different from the current target that is appreciated. For example, I slept Spectrumica. Oh man, if you see the frequency response, that's so far from Harman, that's so far from the IF neutral. Whether you like it or not, it's one of the currently like a trending IEM maybe in high end. and it's far from measurement. And I actually encourage manufacturers to do that as well. Keep exploring, keep finding something new to excite us, because some companies will always make something that follows the target. But for me, as a reviewer that receives a lot of IEMs, at some point it's getting redundant. Oh, this target again. Oh, this target again. Oh, again this sound. Okay, so what's the difference? I need to find the difference. So right now, what excites me the most is, yeah, some companies that make something different, something unique, and I always accept and welcome for some new companies like this, yes, the ice lab, the mystic craft from Elysian, I think it's somehow correlated, and the U9. Yeah, a lot of companies are emerging, and I love to see a lot of more enthusiast items. So not only those who make a target, but those who have ideals. Like, for example, I always really like one company from Japan, the Ocharaku. Ocharaku. If you measure it, oh, it's trash, basically. It's so bad. But because of the acoustic sounds, it's just one of the IM that could give me this like a zen feeling when I'm listening to singular instruments. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I want to see something. The trend will always going on. I believe that. I believe that because that is exactly what sells the most. I believe. But I want to see more ideals and why they make certain sounds that is different with another. And yeah, I want to see more ideals and more unique. Yeah, I think in 2026 we have already seen the Soranic, if I'm not mistaken. Soranic make new MEMS driver,
drivers.
but right now they making it shining. But that's not for entertainment purpose only, but also because of the excessive current from the energizer of the MEMS driver itself. So it's to yeah, I don't know how, but it helps with their tuning. So I want to see something more like that, something unique, something different. That's what excites me as a reviewer, I believe.
I think looking at the audiophile community is not limited to Indonesia, Singapore as well, and even in China. I think it's about enthusiast maturity on their knowledge on the IEM. I think it is important. It's like, for example, being able to understand how and why the manufacturer is doing the IEM this way is a state of maturity in your hobby. Why? Um, which is also goes back to the reason why I've been placing the focus to try to get you away from the frequency curve, because if you are always looking at the frequency curve, you will not be able to understand why is it that it is set up this way, why is the crossover designed this way, and then why does the sound this way. Sometimes it's through the experience of you understanding how different IEMs work that you understand why the sound is different. Which style I appreciate most. It's just like artwork, you know. It can all be acrylic painting, but you know this master might do it this way, this master might do it this way,
Yeah.
but they are both all interpreting sunset. But one appeals to you, one doesn't. It's the same. I like to see this as an artisan type of work, because after all, it is something that we put into our ears. We are using senses to appreciate it. So do it right. Don't rely on zeros and ones. Sometimes machines are too accurate. And when you do perfect accuracy, then one day you will just be driven by machines and you won't have a mind of your own when you come to appreciating the IEM. I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to share here. Because when we are too data driven, we all become robots. And that's not what I want to see in this hobby. That's why when you talk about 2026, I hope we get back to the basics. We get back to understanding, okay, this thing has a BA, has a DD, has a EST. How do they work together? And why do they not, how do they achieve the sonic harmony? These are important things, isn't it? That is how you understand the hobby. That's how you understand what you want from this hobby. Of course, if anyone feels that they want something else from the hobby, can share. We love to hear from you. Any other questions?
Satu pertanyaan lagi berarti ya. Pertanyaan terakhir, ada nggak? Any question? Last question?
Here's your chance.
Maybe this will be a short question.
It's okay.
It's okay.
So, the rise of Chi-Fi, do you think it makes the big audio brands to innovate, or they just tend to be more stubborn than you?
That's a good question.
Okay, because I personally love some big brands and I use it like Sony and Sennheiser. I use it myself and I love them, and they don't follow the target. Actually, I believe that one thing that will be differentiate them, if they want to innovate, they will ask themselves what I should make to make myself different. Like for Sennheiser, for decades, they have only been using one dynamic driver. They don't follow the others, but they still sound great, and I still love them personally. Maybe objectively, in terms of value, some people might say that it's not, it's not, the diminishing return is big, but for me, I still love my i600. And yeah, I simply want to see what the other big brands do. Some big brands will go down, will fall, definitely. We don't see Shure anymore. We don't see a lot of some Beyerdynamics IEMs. At least in IEM's world, we don't see them anymore. And if the Beyerdynamics has make IEM, sorry, some like Klipsch, we don't see them anymore. Some big brands we can no longer see right now. Phonak Audio, I used to love them, but they don't make anymore. Yeah, we will see some big brands fall with the rise of Chi-Fi. And I believe that Chi-Fi is making, because Chi-Fi is making the trends, and Sennheiser and Sony only make maybe one thing for every 5 years, for every 10 years. But Chi-Fi,
4 or 5 models from
every
brand.
month,
Yeah.
every month there will be more things. So I believe some big brands will need to really invent on new things. Like even Sony doesn't really make anything new since the IRZ1R and also IR-M9, right? But for me, their IEM still good, still unique. That's what I want to see from big brands. Great IEMs that stood against the flow of time. And also, but I believe they will not follow the trends, because if they follow the trends, it will be hard to beat the Chinese company, I believe. So.
My opinion is that you guys are very lucky to be at this time, because you have Chi-Fi's, or rather Chinese manufacturers, coming in with very interesting offerings at a very affordable price point, accessible to many. But also, you are unfortunate to be at a time where, for the established brands like Sony, Sennheiser, I can tell you the legacy engineers have all either left or retired. Which is why, remember earlier there was this rumor of a HD900 from Sennheiser?
Oh yeah.
I was the first to tell anyone who asked me that it's not going to happen, because they don't have an engineer to create that.
Oh.
It will never happen. Okay? At least not the consumer side. The pro side is still owned by the family. Yes, they still have some good engineers. I cannot say too much, but being in the industry, I know that Sennheiser currently do not have a capable engineer that can do something like a HD900, at least not now. Of course, they can always hire someone, and I hope they do, because I hope for a new flagship from Sennheiser because I love their sound. I myself, when I review other equipments, I use IE 900. Yeah, and that is my reference. But when you buy an IE 900, look for the one made in Germany, not Ireland. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my recommendation and just my opinion. Okay, so one of the areas which I also encourage some of you guys who have missed the old era, instead of looking for new IEMs, you can look for some second-hand, older IEMs to experience what is done by the previous generation, and that might surprise you. Then you will understand why I'm telling you all to move away from the curve. Okay, yeah. I think we are running out of time, right? You are still got one more to give out, right?
Oh, ya. Masih ada satu ya tadi ya. Quiz aja lah, quiz aja. Quiz aja singkat lah ya.
Okay, we have one more quizzes because we still have one more prize.
Ya. Oke, sekarang quiz cepet-cepetan ya, karena kayaknya udah pada tahu nih. Yang cepet dulu angkat tangan. Siap-siap deh. Yang menang dapetin Space Travel 2 loh, lumayan ya. Tadi ada satu brand yang disebutkan Andy, apa itu? Tuh. Ya udah. Oke. Etymotech is one of the brands that I really appreciate because they always made things following their own target. They have their own target. They don't really follow the Harman target or what target. They have their target and they make it, and it's still using as reference point for a lot of people. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah,
In fact,
okay.
if you can find an automatic that is on the second-hand market, you can try. You can really get one pair and try. It is a totally different IEM. Okay, and a lot of people will ask this question: where's automatic now? They have a new owner, and their new owner also bought Weststone. But they haven't been doing much with the two brands. So I don't know whether they are buying it for the brand or they are buying it for what, but it's on a standstill. What they are selling now is existing models.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael After Sound with Portify for the talk show. We learned a lot, especially on drivers, because of you guys. Thank you so much. And
No.
okay,
Thank you.
and that's it for today's first session of talk show. We'll see you soon on our second session with Andy Fault and Fernanda Gunsan. Thank you, everyone.
Bentar, foto dulu dong, foto bareng dulu dong. Let's take photo together.
Yeah.
Fotonya di sini.
Ya, boleh teman-teman audiens kalau mau ikut.